Jake Thompson had just come back from a long patrol on the outer edge of Titan Base. His boots were covered in red dust. His back hurt, and all he wanted was a hot shower and sleep. But when he opened the door to his assigned unit, he froze. There was someone inside, not just someone something. A tall, silver-skinned figure stood near his bed. She had glowing violet eyes, long white hair tied back tightly, and a sharp, smooth face that looked like a living statue. She turned her head slowly, calmly locking eyes with Jake. Jake blinked. Hello? The alien didn't move. She only tilted her head slightly. You must be Jake Thompson, she said, her voice smooth and soft, but a little mechanical. I am Xeno, Selenari race, assigned as your new cohabitant. What now, roommate? Temporary living. Quarters have been joined due to limited space, Jake groaned. Right. After the reactor explosion, they started doubling everyone up, but I thought I'd get another soldier, not... He stopped himself. Xeno nodded. Not an alien female? Jake scratched the back of his neck. Didn't mean it like that. Just wasn't expecting this. Xeno walked past him silently and began placing her things on the empty shelf. She had no bags, only a small glowing cube and a strange black cloth folded neatly. No words. Number. Questions. Jake sighed and dropped his gear. Look, just one rule, he said, trying to break the awkward silence. Bathroom is private. Knock before going in. Xeno looked at him blankly. Explain. Knock. Jake walked over to the bathroom door and tapped twice. You do this before entering. Got it? Xeno nodded slowly. Understood. Human. Privacy behavior. Knock before entry. Jake didn't think much of it. He just wanted a hot shower and to wash off the grime. So he stripped down, towel around his waist, and stepped into the steamy bathroom. He didn't lock the door. The water was running. Steam filled the small space. Jake leaned under the warm spray and finally let his body relax. Then click. The door opened. Hey, what the... Jake turned quickly, water running down his face. There she stood, Xeno, eyes wide, lips slightly parted, her glowing skin slowly turning pink. Jake grabbed the towel and wrapped it around himself. Didn't I just say knock? Xeno blinked. I forgot. Jake looked stunned. You forgot? You were standing right there when I explained it. Xeno didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on his body, and for a second, her breathing changed. It became faster. She stepped back, then quickly turned and walked out without another word. Jake stood there dripping wet, confused and embarrassed. What just happened? Later that night, Jake sat on his bed, towel gone, now in a fresh shirt and cargo pants. He watched Xeno from the corner of his eye. She hadn't spoken since the bathroom incident. She sat straight on her side of the room, staring at a floating screen, her skin still faintly glowing pink. He cleared his throat. Look, sorry if that shocked you. She didn't turn. It did not shock me. You looked surprised. Xeno's voice was steady, but soft. I have seen many bodies. My kind do not wear clothes like yours. Modesty is not required in Selenari culture, Jake frowned. Then why'd you freeze up like that? A pause. Then she turned, slowly, her eyes glowing faintly. Because your body triggered something. Jake sat up. Triggered? Xeno stood up. It is not your fault. My biology is reacting. I must study it. Good night. She lay down on the bed and turned her back to him. Jake stared at her, unsure what to think. He'd seen aliens before, fought beside them, even saved a few. But this? A roommate who reacted to seeing him naked, and then shut down completely? He turned off the light, still thinking about her last words. Triggered something. At 2 a.m., Jake woke suddenly. The room was dark, but he felt something strange, like being watched. He turned his head slowly and saw Xeno sitting upright in bed. eyes wide open, glowing faintly in the dark. She wasn't blinking. Jake whispered, "Zira?" "Number." "Answer. Are you okay?" Still nothing. Then, just before he said anything else, she whispered, so low he almost missed it, "Why did it have to be you?" Asterisk. The next morning, Jake woke up to a strange scent in the air, something soft sweet, like glowing flowers. At night, he sat up slowly. Across the room, Zira was already awake. She sat perfectly still, eyes closed, legs crossed in some kind of meditation pose. But something about her looked different. Her silver skin shimmered, and her breathing was shaky. Jake rubbed his eyes. "Hey, you okay over there?" Zira opened her eyes, but didn't look at him. Her pupils were larger now. Her hands clenched in her lap. "I am trying to calm my body," she said. Voice low. Jake stood. "What does that mean? Are you sick?" "No," she whispered. "Worse. I am drawn." "Drawn?" "Drawn to what?" Her eyes finally met his. "To you." Jake froze. Zira stood slowly. Her skin pulsed with a soft pink glow. "It began when I saw you, without garments. It triggered an ancient instinct in me, one I cannot control." Jake stepped back. "Hold on, are you saying that seeing me naked turned something on in you?" Zira nodded. "In my species, when we see a potential mate, one truly compatible, our biology activates. It is rare. Most Selenari never feel it in their life." Jake looked stunned. "And you think I'm compatible?" Her voice cracked. "I know you are." The room went silent. Jake sat on the edge of his bed. "This is insane. I mean, I'm human. You single quotes re. Not. Zira tilted her head. "I know this is strange for your kind, but I am not asking for anything. I only wish to stop the reaction before it destroys me." Jake's brows furrowed. "Destroys you?" She nodded. "If the bond is triggered and not completed, the body begins to reject itself. It causes heat, confusion, and in time breakdown of vital systems." Jake stood up fast. "Are you dying?" Zira looked away. "Not yet." That word, "yet," hung in the air like a knife. Jake walked in circles. "Okay, so what do we do? Medicine? Your people must have something for this." "I've already taken suppressants," she whispered. "They failed. The only way to survive now is closeness." Jake blinked. "Closeness?" She took a slow step forward. "Not physical mating, not yet, just contact. Sitting near you, touch, your voice. It slows the reaction." Jake swallowed. "Hard. So you need me to be close?" Zira nodded once. He looked at her, truly looked. She was proud, alien, strange. But in her eyes he saw fear. Not desire. Not lust. Fear. She didn't want this either. Jake walked forward slowly and held out his hand. Zira hesitated, then gently placed her hand in his. Her skin was warm. "No, hot," she gasped quietly. "It's working." They sat on the bed, side by side, barely touching. Her breathing calmed. The glow on her skin faded slowly back to silver. Jake whispered, "How long will this last?" "I don't know," she said. "No Selenari has ever bonded with a human before." Jake laughed dryly. "Lucky me." She looked at him carefully. "You are not angry?" "I'm confused," he said honestly. "But I'm not going to let you suffer. We'll figure this out." She turned her head. "You are very kind for your kind." Jake smiled. "You haven't met many humans, have you?" "No," she said softly. "But I am glad I met you first." Later that night, Jake opened his eyes again, unable to sleep. Zira wasn't in bed. He looked around and found her sitting in front of the mirror, watching her reflection. Her hand touched her face. Slowly, she whispered to herself in her native tongue, words Jake couldn't understand, but her voice trembled. Jake stood behind her. "What are you saying?" She looked up, surprised. "It is an old Selenari saying. We speak it when we are afraid. What does it mean? He asked gently. Xeno stared into the mirror. It means, if the stars chose wrongly, may they guide me to survive anyway. Jake put his hand on her shoulder. She didn't move away, and for the first time, she closed her eyes and leaned gently into his touch. Xeno screamed in her sleep, not loudly but enough to send a chill down Jake's spine. He rushed to her side, his heart pounding. Her body twisted under the blanket, her skin flickering red and silver. Sweat ran down her face. She muttered something in her alien language, her voice cracking like a broken machine. Xeno! Wake up! Jake shouted. She gasped, then bolted upright, chest heaving. Her eyes glowed with panic. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you. Jake sat beside her. It's okay. Was it a nightmare? She looked down. No, it was a memory. Jake waited, silent. Xeno finally said, There's something I didn't tell you about why I'm really here. Jake raised a brow. You mean why you're at the base? She nodded slowly. I wasn't assigned here because of shortage. I was sent here. Removed from my people. Jake stared. You were exiled? She looked away. Not exiled, hidden. The room felt colder. Jake leaned in. Why would they hide you? Xeno took a shaky breath. Because I'm different. My body reacts stronger than others. They feared I would bond with someone unsuitable, that I'd lose control. Jake frowned. Unsuitable like me? Xeno nodded. A human. A species outside the circle. The circle? It's a group of approved species. Selenari are only allowed to bond within it. Humans are not included. Jake sat back. So your people would punish you for bonding with me? Worse, she whispered. They would end the bond. Remove me. Erase everything I became. Jake went silent. His chest felt heavy. That's cruel. Xeno nodded slowly. That is our way. But when I saw you that day, my instincts didn't care about the law. Jake looked into her eyes, and now? Xeno looked away. Now, I feel something more than instinct. Something I was never meant to feel. Jake tried to speak, but stopped. What could he say to someone who was falling for him against her biology, her culture, and her world's rules? You should have told me sooner, Jake said gently. I was afraid, she whispered. I thought you'd push me away. Jake chuckled bitterly. I'm still trying to understand why anyone would push you away. Xeno blinked, surprised. Her skin shimmered softly. You don't fear me? Jake smiled. Xeno, I've fought creatures with 6 heads and acid blood. You just need someone to sit beside you when the nightmares come. She stared at him, eyes wide. Then she reached out and touched his hand. It was warm. Steady. Jake didn't move. An hour later, as they sat quietly together, Jake asked, Is it just your people who don't accept you? Or do you not accept yourself either? Xeno's voice was soft. I don't know who I am anymore. Before I was a warrior, now I'm a risk. Jake looked into her glowing eyes. No, you're not a risk. You're a choice. A choice? He nodded. And I choose to stay. Xeno looked like she wanted to cry, but didn't know how. Her kind didn't cry like humans. But something shimmered at the edge of her lashes, like stardust, and then suddenly, the base alarms began to wail. Red lights flashed across the room. Warning, unauthorized life form detected on lower level. The system voice shouted. ZIRA stood quickly. They've found me. Jake jumped up. Who? Xeno's body tensed. My people. Or worse, someone sent to bring me back. Jake grabbed his jacket. They're not taking you. Not while I'm here. Xeno turned toward him, voice sharp. You don't understand. If they touch me now, the bond will break. My system will collapse. Jake locked eyes with her. Then I guess we'd better make sure they don't get close. Jake wasn't ready for the heat. Not from the base alarms or the panic outside, but from Xeno. She collapsed against the wall, gasping for air. Her skin glowed like burning metal, her body trembling as if it were breaking apart. Jake caught her before she hit the ground. "Xeno, stay with me." Her hands clutched his shirt, her voice barely a whisper. "They're close. I can feel them. My body's reacting." Too fast. Jake held her tighter. Her skin burned against his, but he didn't let go. He looked around the small room walls shaking from the security lockdown. Outside, soldiers shouted and machines roared. But all Jake could hear was Xeno's heavy breathing. "What do I do?" he asked her, voice shaking. Xeno tried to speak, but coughed instead. Her lips looked dry. Her eyes glowed too brightly. Jake reached for the comm panel. "Medical, I need help in Unit 4C. She's burning up." The reply was cold. "Medical bays are offline." Lockdown in effect. Jake cursed under his breath. He looked back at Xeno. Her body was changing, faint light pulsing under her skin like veins made of stars. Her voice returned, weak, but clear. "There is one way." Jake leaned close. "Tell me." Xeno touched his face, her hand trembling. "Your presence slows it. But not enough. I need full contact, skin to skin." Jake swallowed hard. "Like, not mating," she said. "Quickly, just warmth, pressure. Hold me." Without a word, Jake pulled off his jacket and lifted her into his arms. He carried her to the bed, gently, carefully, then lay beside her, wrapping his arms around her burning body like a shield. Xeno shivered. Her head pressed into his chest. "Your heart, it's steady, it's helping." Jake stroked her hair slowly. "Then I'll stay here, as long as you need." Minutes passed. Then an hour. Xeno's skin began to cool. Her breathing slowed. The lights on her skin dimmed, and her voice came softer, calmer. "Jake." "Yeah? Do you know what this means?" He hesitated. "What?" "You just completed the second stage of the Selenari bond." Jake blinked. "Wait, what? I thought this was just survival." She nodded against his chest. "It is, but now the bond is half complete. It cannot be reversed without damage to both of us." Jake's throat went dry. "You mean I'm connected to you now?" Xeno looked up at him. "Yes, through the mind, the body, and soon the heart." Jake stared at the ceiling, stunned. "That's a lot." "You can still walk away," she whispered. "It will hurt, but I'll survive, maybe." Jake looked down at her glowing eyes, at the trust she placed in him even now, even in weakness. "No," he said firmly. "I'm not walking away, not now, not ever." She blinked slowly. Her voice broke. "Then I'll stay and fight. For US, but peace didn't last long. The door suddenly buzzed. Someone was outside. Jake jumped to his feet, blocking Xeno with his body. A voice called out, "Jake Thompson. This is Lieutenant Rourke. We have orders to search your unit." "Step aside." Xeno's hand grabbed his arm from behind. "Don't let them in. If they scan me now, they'll know the bond isn't human approved." Jake nodded. "I've got this." He walked to the door, opening it slightly. "She's not here." The lieutenant raised an eyebrow. "You're alone?" Jake nodded. "It's just me." But behind him, Xeno's soft glow reflected off the wall, and the soldier saw it. "What was that?" the lieutenant asked, stepping forward. Jake slammed the door. "She's sick. You barge in now, and I swear I'll treat that like an attack." There was silence on the other side. Then, quietly, the lieutenant said, "You're protecting her." Jake didn't answer. The voice came again, lower this time. "Jake, they'll hunt you too, you know, for bonding outside the rules." Jake looked back at Xeno, curled on the bed, eyes full of trust. He spoke clearly, then let them come. "She's worth it." The next morning, Jake did something he never thought he'd do in a military base. He kissed Zira. It wasn't a passionate kiss. Not romantic. Not yet. It was part of a lie. A very dangerous lie. They stood in front of the base commander and 3 alien officers. Under the bright lights of the command hall, a security alert had flagged Zira's life signature as unstable and unauthorized. Jake had one chance to protect her. So he stepped forward and placed a calm kiss on her forehead and said the words that would change everything. She's my bond partner, officially, fully. You can check the logs. The room went silent. The commander stared. You bonded with a Selenari female? Jake nodded. Yes, sir. She didn't force it. It was mutual. We're connected now. I accept all consequences. Zira didn't speak, but her hand found his, and she held it tightly. Officers murmured among themselves. Fine, the commander said at last. If that's true, she stays. But if this is a trick, if the bond fails official testing, she'll be taken away. No trial, no appeal. Jake kept his voice steady. It won't fail. They let him go. For now, but the pressure had begun. Back in their room, the silence was heavy. Zira finally turned to him. You lied to them. Jake sat down, rubbing his face. Yeah, but it's the only way to keep you safe. We just have to keep up the act. They'll monitor us, watch our behavior. If we act bonded, they won't question it. Zira blinked. So we pretend to be in love? Jake looked at her. Yeah, exactly. Zira tilted her head. I don't know how to do that. Jake laughed softly. Don't worry. Most humans fake it all the time. Zira walked over, unsure. What do couples do? How do they act? Jake thought for a moment. Well, they talk a lot, share things, hold hands. Sometimes they argue. Sometimes they smile just by seeing each other. Zira nodded. Then teach me. So he did. The next few days were strange. They shared meals, sat close, practiced walking through the halls side by side. Zira would ask questions like, do lovers laugh even when the joke isn't funny? Or, is it normal to stare at your partner while they sleep? Jake laughed. Depends who you ask. But something changed. At first, the touches were awkward. The smiles forced. But soon, the laughter became real. Jake found himself telling her stories about Earth, about his dog, about the time he fell in love once and got hurt. Zira listened, always listening, sometimes tilting her head, sometimes smiling with her eyes. She began to wear human clothes, simple ones, cargo pants and loose shirts. But every time she walked into the room, Jake noticed her more, and she began to notice him too. The way he looked at her when she wasn't watching, the way he leaned in without realizing it, the way he protected her like she was already his. One night, Zira stood by the window watching the stars. Jake sat on the bed, tired but restless. She spoke quietly. This fake bond, it feels like something else now. Jake looked at her back. Yeah, I know. She turned slowly. Is that wrong? He shook his head. I don't think so. She walked toward him, stopped just a step away. Then answer. One question honestly. Jake stood up, heart racing. Anything. Zira looked into his eyes. If this wasn't fake, would you still choose me? Jake didn't speak for a second. Then softly, I think I already did. Zira breathed out slowly. Her glowing eyes softened. But before anything else could be said, the door slammed open. A base enforcer stepped in. You two. Report to medical bay for immediate bond verification. Now. Zira's body went stiff. Jake stood in front of her. We're coming. Don't touch her. Zira had never seen a white room before. Not like this one. It was cold. Too bright. Too quiet. She sat alone on a floating chair inside the bond verification chamber, a place where secrets could not survive. Machines buzzed softly around her, scanning every inch of her body. Needles of light danced over her skin. Her silver veins glowed in response. The human doctors watched from behind glass, silent, judging. She hated this. Across the room, separated by a barrier of invisible energy, Jake stood with his fists clenched. His chest rose and fell with slow, careful breaths. He wasn't allowed near her. Not until the results came in. A robotic voice echoed. Selenari bonding signals, partially stabilized. Partner imprint human, unregistered, unapproved. Jake slammed his palm on the glass. Hey, what does that mean? An officer in a red coat turned toward him. It means your bond is real. But not legal, not yet. Jake's eyes narrowed. Then what happens next? The officer's voice was flat. She's to be transferred off-world, immediately. The bond must be broken. Zira heard every word. Her fingers curled into fists. Her voice trembled as she spoke. If you take me away now, I may not survive. The officer didn't blink. That's not our concern. Jake stepped closer to the glass. Don't do this. You'll kill her. The officer raised an eyebrow. She's not your kind. Why do you care so much? Jake's eyes burned with anger. Because she's not just someone I care about. She's mine. Later, in the holding cell, they were allowed one final moment together. 5 minutes. That's all. Zira stood in the center of the room, pale and silent. Jake walked in quickly. The guard didn't follow. For a moment, they just looked at each other. No words, just pain. Then Zira spoke softly. It's over, isn't it? Jake shook his head. Not if I can stop it. She smiled sadly. You can't fight the system. He stepped forward. No, but I can challenge it. Zira frowned. Challenge it? How? Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out a small black stone etched with glowing blue lines. Zira's eyes widened. Where did you get that? I found it in the archive vault 2 nights ago. I studied your traditions, learned about the old laws your people forgot. She took a step closer. That's a claim stone. No human should even know what that is. Jake held it out. I invoke the warrior's claim. If I pass your people's test, they have to honor the bond, even across species. Zira's eyes shimmered. You could die. Jake nodded. Yeah, but you'll live. She reached for his hand and held it tightly. Why would you risk that? For me? Jake looked straight into her glowing eyes. Because I never wanted a bond. I never planned for it. But now that I have it, I'd rather die than lose it. Outside the room, the guards waited. The moment Jake stepped out with the claim stone, the alarm was triggered. A red hologram lit up over the hallway. Warriors. Claim initiated. Cross-species trial approved. Everyone on base turned to stare. Zira followed behind him quietly. No one spoke, until a young Selenari warrior stepped forward and growled. No human has ever passed the claim. Jake didn't. Blink, then I'll be the first. It started with silence. Not a peaceful kind, but the kind of silence that wraps around the chest and makes it hard to breathe. Jake stood shirtless in the middle of the Selenari. Trial circle a ring of glowing stones deep beneath Titan base. The ground was warm. The air smelled like metal and ash. Ancient, sacred. He wasn't supposed to be here. This was a place only Selenari warriors entered, not humans. Not ever, but today the circle had opened. For him, across from him stood a towering Selenari male. Gleaming armor, cold yellow eyes. A blade that hummed with energy in one hand and a second smaller blade in the other. The trial of bond, the elder announced. If the human survives 3 marks of pain and proves his devotion, the bond shall be honored. Jake didn't flinch. From the side, Zira watched, heart pounding. She was forbidden to speak, forbidden to move. But inside, she was screaming, Please, Jake. Don't die for me. Mark 1. Pain of the body. The warrior charged. Jake barely dodged. The first blade sliced his arm clean, hot, deep. He hit the ground, blood dripping. But he stood again. Didn't scream, didn't stop. I'm still here. Jake growled. The crowd of Selenary murmured. He was still breathing. Still standing. Mark II. Pain of the Mind. A mind probe was placed on Jake's temple. A bright blue crystal flashed. Suddenly, he saw visions. ZIR a being taken. Crying out. Alone. Him. Old. Alone. Forgotten. He felt fear, sorrow, regret all crashing at once. Tears ran down his cheeks, but he stayed standing. He whispered through clenched teeth, "She's worth it." The elder raised his staff. The human has endured this second mark. Mark III. Pain of the Heart. The final test, Xeno, was brought forward. A blade was placed in Jake's hand. "End the bond," the elder said. "Show you can choose your species over hers." Jake looked at the blade, then at Xeno. She looked up at him, eyes full of light and quiet sadness. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Jake threw the blade aside, then dropped to one knee in front of her. He placed his hand on her chest, just like her people did when they chose their bondmate, and said the words softly, but loud enough for the whole chamber to hear. "I choose you, Xeno, now and forever, not because of instinct, not because of biology, because of my heart." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The elder stepped forward. Then slowly bowed. The bond is complete. That night, back in their small room, Xeno sat quietly on Jake's bed. She pressed a cool cloth against his arm. His wound was deep, but healing. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. Jake smiled weakly. "I'd do it again." Xeno leaned in and kissed his forehead, this time not as part of a lie, but as something real. Something chosen, something theirs. Outside the base, stars burned quietly above them. And for the first time in her life, Xeno didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like she was home. With him.